Kelligan, and I am back here in kind of the kitchen. We'll be heading there here later. But I'm here with a special guest today. I have Anthony the Professor Baker, a professional mixologist who is based in New York. And I met him doing online cocktail classes during quarantine last year. And so I wanted to bring him on to talk to us a little bit about mixology and kind of get us into the groove of actually making some good drinks and what constitutes making a good drink, because it's not just throwing a whole bunch of stuff in a glass, which I learned. So Anthony, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me, Raquel. It's good to be here.
All right, so let's get right into it. Can you tell me what is mixology and who is a mixologist?
Okay, mixology is the creative side of bartending when you want to provide a special experience for your guests. That's what it is. It's the creative side of bartending. So when you're a bartender, okay, because a lot of people don't know the difference between a bartender and a mixologist. Bartenders, they just want to know what is the recipe. What is the recipe? I'll execute it. I'll do it as fast as I can. Boom, boom, boom. They don't care about how it tastes. They don't, most of the time they're not really worried about the creativity behind it or anything. They're just like, let me get the recipe and let me make it up and let me mix it up and let me just ship it out. But mixology is different. Mixology doesn't worry so much about what is in the recipe. Their mind focuses on why it is in the recipe. Why use lemon juice over lime juice in this recipe? Why are we putting salt? Why are we sprinkling salt rather than putting it on the rim? They're all focused on creating experiences for guests. That's it. And it's really the difference between a cook and a chef. It's the same difference between a cook and a chef. A cook is equivalent to a bartender and a chef is equivalent to a mixologist.
Awesome. Well, thank you for breaking that down for us, because I didn't even know there was a whole world of mixology. I didn't know that was like an actual study. so
Well,
so thank you so much for
you
teaching.
weren't you weren't far off, Raquel. For quite a few years and decades, it wasn't its own world. It didn't really become a world until about, like, say, the early 2000s, and then that's when it morphed into something different. Like, wow, we need to put better care into these cocktails. That's when it started being its own world.
Awesome. So how did you get started in mixology?
So I got started in mixology in 2017. And I had already been a bartender for about 15, 16 years at the time. And I just dabbled in mixology like here and there, but I never really cared too much about it. I always thought that there was just a bartender and there was no such thing as a mixologist. But in 2017, I got hired at this bar called the Aviary. They're like a top 100 bar in the world. And so I'm working there and I realized, wow, this is something serious. Like, these guys take cocktails really, like, they will have 3-hour meetings on one cocktail. And I said, at first I thought it was ridiculous, but then I said, wait, I want to listen in on these meetings. I want to know what they're talking about. And the things that they were talking about was, well, when the guest takes the first sip, they're going to taste this. And then when they take the second sip, they're going to taste this. And I got so intrigued. I said, wow, this is incredible. And so I said, well, let me start getting into mixology. Let me start making my own drinks. And then the craziest thing happened. Luckily, I got hired as a bar consultant for a really cool restaurant called Baek Jong. It's a really famous Korean restaurant. And they asked me to create cocktails for them. So now I'm working at the Aviary and I'm working a second job as a cocktail consultant for Baek Jong. So I kind of took all my knowledge that I was getting from the Aviary and using it into Baek Jong at the same time. And that's when I officially became a mixologist.
So, as I mentioned at the top, we met on an online mixology class, and you've met my whole family now. We've had some good times on the online cocktail classes that has gotten us through the last year. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. Can you tell me a little bit about your online mixology classes and kind of how that came about?
Okay, so the online mixology classes came by a miracle, actually. I'm not even sure how it really worked, but it was right when COVID time. And right before COVID, I was working about 3 or 4 jobs. I was bartending. I was doing online. I was bartending. I was doing in-home cocktail classes. I was training staff for restaurants, and I had my own shoe company. So I was doing all 4 of those things, which required me to leave the house constantly. And then COVID happened, then we all went in quarantine. I had no income, no savings at the time because it all went to the shoe company. And I just was like, listen, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I had no unemployment because I was all freelancing. And I just was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm just preparing to be homeless at this point. And so one day, this miraculously, this picture ended up in my phone. I don't know how it ended up there, but it said Cozy Meal needed some mixologists, online mixologists. And so I said, I don't know who sent me this. And I still to this day have no idea who sent me that, but it just ended up in my album in my phone. And so I called Cozy Meal. I said, do you need mixologists? Because I would love to do an online class. And they said, yeah. So we started off with one class, a tequila class, and actually a margarita class. And it went well. And so, and then Cozy Meal was like, hey, would you like to post more classes? Because people seem to enjoy your classes. I said, yeah. And then I started posting more and more classes. And then I just was busy 5 days a week. Well, 7 days a week, but 5 days with just Cozy Meal. And Cozy Meal asked me to do more classes, like novelty classes, like Marvel classes and stuff. And I said, no, I already have enough classes posted. I was like, I can't work 24 hours a day. But that's how I got it started into mixology, well, online mixology. It was through a platform called Cozy Meal.
And we will make sure to post a link in the description to Cozy Meal's classes with Professor Baker. If you are interested in taking one of the classes, I highly recommend them. But today we are going to be making a classic margarita. But before we move into the kitchen to do that, let's talk a little bit about the margarita. So can you tell me what are some common misconceptions people have about margaritas? Because I will confess, before taking your classes, I margarita was my only drink, and I probably was doing it very badly. So if you could just kind of explain to me, what are some common misconceptions people have about the margarita and some things that you kind of want us to know about this drink?
Okay, well, one big misconception about the margarita is people just think that it's like you just take a shaker, you throw a bunch of tequila in it, and then you put margarita mix in it, you shake it up and just pour it out. And you don't understand, like you just really missed out on the opportunity of making yourself a really beautiful drink, because the margarita is an amazing drink. And it's actually second to the Paloma in Mexico. It's a very beautiful drink. And the thing is, you need certain proportions in order for that beauty to come out. The proportions are very important when it comes to margarita. You don't want to put too much tequila because you're going to take away from the beauty of the sweet and sour mix and the liqueur. Now, one thing that people need to know about the margarita is this: the word margarita means daisy, D-A-I-S-Y. That's what the word margarita means, and that's very significant to making a margarita, because daisy is a style of a cocktail. Daisy describes a cocktail that consists of 4 elements: sugar, citrus, liqueur, and spirit. And so that the Cointreau comes in. The Cointreau is the liqueur. Now, if you perfectly balance those out, you get the most beautifully made margarita, which is what we're going to do today, actually. And that's basically it. Like people just think that margarita is just tequila and margarita mix, and hey, I'm getting drunk and this is a margarita. I'm like, you don't realize. And the salt, as you'll notice, that we're gonna do the salt a little differently today. We're not gonna do the salt on the rim. We're too old for that, Raquel. Nobody wants to lick a glass and get a mouthful of sodium. We're gonna do it the correct adult way, okay?
So we're growing up today.
We're growing up today. Yeah, none of that 16-year-old margarita stuff anymore. We're gonna do.
Well, you're not supposed to be drinking at 16. We're not condoning drinking at 16, 21 and up.
And I'm a church. I don't condone it. We definitely don't do that sneaking stuff out of your dad's cabinet stuff. We don't condone that. I'm just saying,
So the drink we're making today, 21 and up. If you're not, don't pay attention to the rest.
None of that. We don't even condone it. First of all, you shouldn't be even trying to mix cocktails at 16.
Exactly.
You're already doing it wrong.
Well, awesome. So we're going to go ahead and move into the kitchen here next. And Professor Baker is going to take us through making a classic margarita as he would in one of his online mixology classes. So stick with me. We'll be right back. Okay, thank you for tuning in to part 1 of our All About Cocktails episode with Anthony the Professor Baker. Make sure you come back next week because we have to walk you through this classic margarita. I tell you, it is to die for. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you make any of my dishes, don't forget to tag me on Instagram, and don't forget to come back next week so you can get this classic margarita recipe. He will walk us through it step by step so you have a classic margarita that you can make at home that tastes delicious and is in balance. So I will see you next week. Take care.